Hello and welcome to this very first edition of Divide and Conquer, where we are going to learn all about how to divide and conquer those somewhat tricky divisions. This first edition is where we're going to be really understanding what it's all about. Y'all have divided before, but did you know what you're doing? Because I've seen some messy divisions in your work. So let's clean it up. Let's get to know what we're doing before we start dividing in columns, aka short division, before you get to long division. So, division means we are going to divide, and we are also going to conquer divisions. We are going to master them totally. There's the sign. When you see that, you know you need to divide. And people sometimes get a little bit confused by that sign. So think of it like this. You've got a line in the middle. That is your line to be splitting things. But not just splitting things, but splitting things evenly. That is, splitting things equally. So, if you are splitting up some sweets, think of it like this. One for you and one for me. One for you and one for me. And we all get the same. Because when people say divide, they sometimes use the commonly used word share. Share's okay, not very mathsy, but that's fine. If you want to get in my good books, you'll use a very lovely maths word called quotient, which we're going to get to very soon. But as long as you know that you're sharing things equally so that every group has exactly the same, then you've mastered the first challenge of division. Right. Have you got your pens? Have you got your pencils? Are you ready to make a start? Join me now. Step 1. Are you ready? We are going to really try to understand what a division question is asking us. To help us, we're going to make that division super easy. So I'm giving you something that you might have seen a year, 2, maybe even 3 years ago. Something like this. 20 divided by 5. What does it mean? We're going to start with the most straightforward way about thinking of dividing, thinking about sharing. So let's say we have 20 apples. I hear y'all talking about putting the apples in the baskets, and that's a really great way to start to think about dividing, putting apples in the baskets. So I've got 20 apples, right? And I got 5 baskets. So I'm going to share them out equally. Share out those 20 apples in those 5 baskets and ask myself how many apples in each basket. That's going to tell me how many groups I've got in my 5 groups. And so, look, in this case, look, there are my 5 baskets or my 5 groups. I have done some crosses instead of some dots. Much easier to see. The dots drive me dotty. And I just shared them out. One for you, one for you, one for him, one for her, one for Bob. And I keep going until I have shared out all 20. I count them one at a time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Until I get to 20. And then I can see very clearly that I have got exactly 4 apples in each basket. I've got exactly 4 in each group, and I have got 5 groups. You're familiar with that, right? Some of you, though, might be thinking about it a little bit more like this. You might be thinking to yourself, right, well, I got 20 sweets, let's just say, and what if I did one group of 5 sweets there, and one group of 5 sweets there, and one group of 5 sweets there? And I've got my 20, so I start with my 20, and I group them into 5. Then, I'm not asking how many in each group, I'm asking how many groups are there, because I've already grouped them into 5. So to show you what that looks like, I start with 20 and I group it in 5. So I got one group of 5, and then get another group of 5, that's 10. Then I get another group of 5, that's 15. And then I've got my last group of 5 to get me to 20. How many groups are there? There are 4 groups. Make sense? Let's be a little bit more mathematical about it. And come back to one of my favorite things ever, the bar model. Let me take you to my very unpretty bar model. I'm not very happy with it. It's not very even. We're going to pretend it's perfect. But I've got 20. There's my whole. And I am going to group them into 5s. So I got 5, 10, 15, 20. And look, I've got 4 equal sections. They're equal in theory, if not on this particular representation. But you get the picture. And when we look at this, it helps us really understand that this is asking us, if we start with 20 and we group them into 5s, how many 5s are in 20? That's what that bar model is saying to us. How many 5s are there in 20? Well, there are 4. There are 4 5s in 20. And when we start to think of it like that, it helps us make the link with multiplication, because division is the inverse of multiplication. So when we start thinking about division like that, it helps us look at this way of thinking. 5 times what is 20? Or what times 5 is 20? How many 5s make 20? We are going to come back to that tomorrow. I just want you to lodge that into your maths brain, because that skill is going to be crucial. For the moment, we're going to scale it back to those visual representations where we share things into equal groups, because I have seen some messy work with your divisions last term. Dots everywhere, no organization for the most part, people not really sure what they were doing. Let's tighten that up before we get to the next stage, which is where we want to go to. Vertical, that's column division. Starting with short division, next year, some of you will be moving on to long division. Before we do that, let's completely get the hang of what division is all about. Paper, pencil, right now, nice and easy. One of the easiest divisions you could be given. Could you please show me what it means? Show me with pictures what it means 20 divided by 5 equals. Ready, steady, go. I'll meet you back here in 2 minutes. Well, I think the good news is that you're home, so you haven't got me looking at you going crazy if you put some lazy old circles with a bunch of dots in it. I mean, even a little bit neat like that. Because I want to ask you, what if I asked you not to divide 20 by 5, but to divide 80 by 5? Go on, have a try. 80 divided by 5 equals, paper, pencil, show me visually. What does 80 divided by 5 equal? And what does it look like? Meet you back here. Pause the video. I'll meet you back here. Go. So, I wonder how many of you did 5 groups with 80 dots all in it. If you did, we got some work to do. So let's make a start. Instead of putting dots everywhere, you might be saying to me, but Miss Tinder, how else am I supposed to do it? Well, we can make things easier for ourselves. Don't we want an easy life? Even in maths, which we love, don't we want an easier life? Let's do that. So, 5 groups. Instead of counting in ones, can we not count in tens? However you want to represent this is fine. I've done a dean rod. I've done a place value. And I've counted out 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 50. Now, if I kept counting in tens, I would run out. Okay, 60, 70, 80. I haven't got enough to share that out equally. But I could even then share out in 5. So I've got 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75. I've shared out 75 now. Can I share out another 5? No. I could share out once. So I had my 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. I've shared out 80 equally now between 5 groups. I had a 10, I had a 5, and I had a 1. So in each group, there is 10, 5, and 1. That's 16. 16 in each group. 80 divided by 5 is 16. Isn't that so much better than 80 dots? Doing 80 dots in 5 groups? Come on now. If you're not sure, pause the video, rewind that little tiny section back again, and do it yourself. Do it with me. Draw your 5 groups. Share out 10s. Run out of 10s. Share out 5s. Run out of 5s before you can't share out evenly anymore, and then you're left with 1s. Try that. And then join me back here where we will look at something else. Okay, before we go any further, I want to show you something which may help some of you, which is why I'm showing you this. It is not a method which is taught really in English schools. However, the very first class that I had at Rake School, great class, Mrs. Whitehead's twins were in that class. They loved to divide this way. It made sense to them. It was relevant to them. They could picture it. And they used to like to divide things between people. So, a bunch of them, not all of them, but a bunch of them, would take something like 80 divided by 5 and say, well, I'm going to have like 80 sweets and divide it between 5 people. They would draw 5 people, 5 columns. And they would ask themselves, how can I make this easier for myself? Can I share it out in 100s? Well, no, I can't. But I could share it out in 10s. So, I can definitely share it out in 10s between 5 people. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And I would just put 50 here. That's what they would do, not just me. I'll put 50 here to help me keep track. And I can look and see, I could try it out just by counting, and I can see that actually I'm not going to have enough 10s to share out equally amongst all of these friends. So I'll break it down into 5s and see if that works. So I had 50. I can pick up from 50. 55, 60, 65, 70, 75. Great. At the end of that round of sharing, I'm left, I've counted out, I've shared out 75. Can I share out another 5 between all of those? No, obviously I can't. But I can share out in ones. So I've got 75, counting up from 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. There we go, 80. And that's where it got me to, which is exactly where I wanted it to go. So I started with 80 and I shared it out, and then each person, look, got 10 and 5 and 1. That's 16. Same result. A similar way, but just set out like this. Perhaps that will help you. And if you want, pause the video, even rewind it a minute or so, look at it again, try it yourself. And then join me back here when we get even more mathematical. Okay, so I should probably mention the fact that because we have used place value charts to calculate addition, subtraction, multiplication, I need to mention that, of course, you could use place value charts to help you divide, whether you're actually physically using counters to divide your things into tens and ones, or just drawing it, having a pictorial representation. So taking our previous question, 80 divided by 5, I have a column for the tens because it's a 2-digit number, and a column for the ones. And I share out 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. If I try to share out anymore, I couldn't, so I'd have to exchange the remaining 30 tens into 31s, which is what I've done. And I've just counted them out. I'm not going to count them all out. You can see it. If you're not sure, pause it, check it, tell me if I'm wrong. Doesn't happen often, but you know. Okay, and you can still see that each group, each row, has got 16. 1 10 and 6 ones. Great. Well, 80 divided by 5, you have a try. Do it in whichever way makes sense to you. Check it and come back here because we have one more thing to do. This was neat. This was easy, kind of. Things get a little bit fruity when you can't divide evenly. Check back here as soon as you're ready. Okay, welcome back. However you decided to represent 80 divided by 5, I hope you wrote out the question, the division neatly, and then wrote that the quotient, that's right, the quotient is 16. Nailed it? Then you're ready for the next step. Alright, with your paper and pencil, please could you divide 53 by 4? 53 divided by 4 equals. Pause, have a go, and check back with me. So, 53 divided by 4, how did you get on? If you got stuck, fret not. It can be a messy old business dividing. But fear not, because we are going to divide and conquer. So let's have a look. We'll start with the very first way we looked at pictorial representations of divisions, but doing it in a much more efficient way than lots of dots. 4 groups, starting with tens, represented here so beautifully by my base 10 Dean's rods. I've shared out 40. Obviously, I've got 110, which is not going to share out equally amongst 4. So I'm going to move to ones, or I could just say I'm exchanging a 10 for 10 ones. And I've still got the other 3 and the 53. And I share them out ones. 41, 42, 43, 45, 46, 8, 3, 4, 9, 50, 51, 52. I share out 52, but, and they share out evenly, beautifully, but I've still got 1 left. I've still got 1 left. And you could say to me, Miss Tinder, but we could quarter them and give each a quarter. Yes, of course you could. And that's perfectly legitimate and something that you will be doing. But let's say, like in class, we would be using Skittles to do this kind of work. Have you ever tried to divide a Skittle evenly into quarters? If you manage it, post a video and show me, because I don't believe you. What if you were sharing out people? This is not Plantagenet maths, okay? This is not medieval times. We're not going to hang, draw, and quarter, literally. We're just going to say that we've got 1 remaining. One of these things remaining. Let's look at my my first class's way of dividing. 4 people, 53 sweets. I'll start nice and easy with tens. I get to 40. I can see straight away that I can neither use 5s, 10s, nor 5s, so I'm straight to 1s. And I keep track of it there. As you can see, I won't count it out again, but you can see I get to 52. I get to 52, I've got 53, got 1 left, and if I gave it to this chap here, then everybody else would be very cross. And we don't everybody else to be cross. So we say, okay, each one of you can have 13 sweets, and we're just going to leave that other one to the side. We've got 1 remaining, right? So 53 divided by 4, 13 in each group, but 1 remaining. And we call that one thing, 1 left over, that's remaining, a remainder. Remainder. Or, not Skeletors, remainder. R. And the way we are going to represent it at this time, not the most mathematical way, but a good step now. When you have got something left over, you're not just going to leave it and tuck it sort of under your couch cushion, your settee, and pretend it didn't exist. No, you are going to show that there is 1 remaining by writing the letter R and showing what is left. So here is our quotient for 53 divided by 4. 13 R1. R meaning remainder. If that was a bit much, take a break, come back, look at it again, and when you think you've got it, would you please have a go with your very first lot of division. See you soon.